Hello, and welcome to another Serval Saturday with your host, Christopher Rosario. I'm super excited. This week I was able to get a new book, Chordal Harmony by Yannick Gouzdala. No, this is not a paid advertisement. I just really like his stuff. The Chordal Harmony, the Bass Player's Guide to the Galaxy, goes over chords on the bass, and it goes through a crap ton of exercises and chords on the bass. It's all backwards because it's in selfie mode. So yeah, I have my work pretty much cut out for me with doing new exercises that I've never done on the bass before, and it's going to take a long time to get through all this, but it's going to be awesome because it is super fun. So that is what I've been working on a lot this week. This is how I've actually been warming up in my practice routines lately. Next, in the practice routine, we have all the good stuff. I've mentioned this one before. Again, Yannick Gouzdala. If you want a little picture of him, there he is. He came out with this book as well. This actually came out before Chordal Harmony, and this is another bomb book. And I'm not being sponsored by him, although it'd be cool to actually talk to him or have any sort of correspondence. This is another exercise that goes through different scales and different ways to incorporate melody into your practicing. And so instead of practicing just scales over and over again, you're incorporating melodic lines to navigate your way through the scales, and it keeps it exciting and fun to do. And this is, even though it's very thin, it's going to be a good hunk of meat to dig into. Next, in my practice routine, Funk Fusion Bass. Funk Fusion Bass by John Liebman. I don't really know who that guy actually is, but he writes a good book. I was started on this book a while ago when I was a youngster in high school by my bass teacher back then, Buddy Pearson. This one has a whole lot of good stuff. All the good stuff was the other book. But this has a lot of good stuff as well, starting all the way from the basics, scales and everything like that, and then it goes into string crossings, and it goes into different techniques such as the pull-off, hammer-ons, different style elements, things like that. And then it gets into the very important part of bass, establishing a groove. And it has a whole bunch of groove exercises, just different keys, different bass grooves, funky things to practice to a metronome and or a drum machine. And yeah, it puts all those style elements into those grooves. And the very last section, which I think is pretty cool, is building a vocabulary for funk fusion soloing and or just soloing in general. These can be translated and used into any genre that you are playing in. And it has a whole bunch of different licks for solos to play and licks to practice, and you can put them in different keys to make you a better player, and different ideas, and put different shapes into your hands and get yourself used to doing that. Another book that I like to use in my practice routine, although I've been slacking a little bit, I need to use it a little more, is the Real Book. Even though AfroKatz isn't jazz by any means, I like the Real Book because it has all the melodies of hundreds of different jazz standards, and so I can play those melodies, and playing those melodies helps me come up with other melodies and the different chord progressions, and learning all these jazz standards and learning all the scales and chords that go with them can help me put that stuff into AfroKat music. And it just is another cool practice tool to use to work up my chops and possibly be inspired by the hundreds of tunes. As you can see, this thing is so big. It's huge. The Real Book. Cool stuff. Last but not least, I don't really use this one as much as a practice tool so much as a reference guide, the Bass Grimoire. It's a pretty cool book that I picked up a while ago. It has pretty much any scale and chord that you can think of. Oh, there in the table of contents, and it breaks it down, and the different chords that go with all those different scales, and all the scales. It has every single pattern that you could think of, scale charts, tons of good stuff. So yeah, that's a little look inside my practice routine as the bass player for the AfroKatz. Meow! Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and check us out every Saturday for Serval Saturdays.